Against the backdrop of increasingly erratic behavior from Russia and intelligence signals that the Kremlin might initiate an attack on NATO countries, the United States has, for the first time since 2008, transferred nuclear weapons to bases in the United Kingdom. This means that the Americans have decided, on the contrary, to expand their military presence in Europe and send a clear signal to the Kremlin. Nuclear weapons are ready if Putin decides to go to war against Europe. And this news is especially interesting in the context of the fact that just recently the United Kingdom has effectively concluded military pacts with France and Germany to create a nuclear shield over Europe and jointly confront the Russian threat. My name is Alexei Pechi. Today is July 21st on the calendar. Let's discuss this topic together, but before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, give it a like, leave any comment, and be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechi News. The link to it is in the description of this video. So, here's the news that surprised Europeans and scared Russians today. For the first time since 2008, United States nuclear weapons have returned to the territory of the United Kingdom. Numerous sources indicate that this week several B-61-12 free-fall thermonuclear bombs were transported to the Lakenheath Air Base in Suffolk. It is believed that the weapons were transported from the United States Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center at Kirtland Air Base in New Mexico to a newly built secure storage facility in the United Kingdom. The United States Department of Defense does not publicly comment on the transfer, and usually the Department of Defense does not comment at all on the presence or absence of nuclear weapons at specific locations. But sources indicate that since last year, the United States has been preparing a new airbase and transferring aircraft to Britain specifically in order to later deploy nuclear warheads there. 6112 is a modernized low-yield tactical nuclear bomb capable of adjusting its explosive power and providing precise targeting. It is designed for use with various carriers, but primarily for the FTS. The 3548th Fighter Wing at Lakenheath Air Base has the 493rd and 495th Fighter Squadrons, which fly specifically the F-35A aircraft and are among the first in Europe to transition to this type of aircraft. American nuclear weapons were previously stationed at the United Kingdom Royal Air Force Base Lakenheath during the Cold War. But the last known removal of these nuclear weapons from there took place in 2008 after several years of arms reductions in Europe related to so-called disarmament. Well, that is, it was part of the demilitarization of Europe. And in 2008, the Americans took their last nuclear weapons out of the United Kingdom. Now they've decided to bring it back because of the unpredictable Russian dictator. The return of such weapons means a significant change in NATO's nuclear strategy on the European theater of operations, against the backdrop of worsening relations with Russia and an increased focus on deterrence. The restoration of nuclear fuel storage capabilities at Lakenheath was first announced back in 2022 in United States budget documents, which listed infrastructure upgrades related to nuclear mission readiness. And this news fits perfectly with the previous two reports that Britain has signed two military pacts with the French and the Germans. On July 17th, Germany and the United Kingdom quietly signed a historic military agreement. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer signed an agreement in London that includes a commitment to assist each other in the event of an armed attack. In other words, both countries are entering into a military pact to protect their allies, and if Russia commits an act of aggression against one of the countries, the other is obligated to come to its defense. But, as officials in Berlin assure, the mutual defense agreement is a response both to Russia's actions and to the growing concern among European allies regarding the United States' commitment to the NATO principle of collective defense. And here's an interesting point. In Germany, they say that such a pact is not a replacement for NATO's principle of mutual defense. It's simply another safeguard in case NATO's mechanisms fail. But for Germany, the issue of defense is especially important since the United Kingdom, along with France, is one of the two nuclear powers in Europe. That is, these two countries have their own nuclear weapons, while Germany does not. Germany is currently under the nuclear umbrella of the United States of America, but it's time for Europe to start thinking about creating its own nuclear umbrella. And this was an official statement by Jens Spahn, the leader of the largest parliamentary faction in the German Bundestag, a faction made up of Merz's party, the Christian Democratic Union, and its permanent ally, that's the Bavarian Party, the Christian Social Union. That is, as you know, the Christian Democratic Union, Christian Social Union, they always go together as a pair. So Spahn stated that in order to ensure effective deterrence against Russia and to protect against the threats it has begun to pose, Europe must create its own nuclear umbrella over the continent. Next, I'll give you his quote. Russian aggression is a completely new threat. Europe must become capable of deterrence. Right now, American nuclear bombs are stationed in Germany, but in the long term, that won't be enough. I know what defensive reflexes are immediately triggered in this situation. But yes, we should have a discussion about an independent European nuclear umbrella, and that will only work if Germany takes a leadership role. If you can't provide nuclear deterrence, you'll become a pawn in world politics. And importantly, the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, previously stated that Europe needs to stop relying on the United States and take care of its own defense. Germany needs to create the strongest army in Europe. Moreover, back in February, Merz talked about the possibility of creating a European nuclear shield. And here is his quote. We need to discuss with the British and the French, the two European nuclear powers, whether they can share nuclear weapons with us or at least provide security with their help. We need to talk about German or European participation in the nuclear arsenal of France and the United Kingdom, and possibly also about our own participation together with other European countries. It will cost a lot of money, but whoever wants protection must finance it. And nuclear weapons are not explicitly mentioned in the new treaty between Germany and Britain. But Starmer and Merz agreed on the delivery of a new long-range missile system over the next decade. It is stated that the range of its missiles will be over 2,000 kilometers and it will support the defense sector of the United Kingdom and Europe. But that's not even the most important thing. The fact is that a week ago, the United Kingdom and France agreed to strengthen cooperation in the field of nuclear deterrence and are ready to coordinate any response measures to nuclear security threats in Europe. Two members of the United Nations Security Council with nuclear weapons signed a declaration stating for the first time that the respective deterrence forces of both countries are independent but can be coordinated, and that there is no extraordinary threat to Europe that would not trigger a response from both countries. Any adversary threatening our shared vital interests could face the power of the nuclear forces of the United Kingdom or France. And in London, they stated that cooperation with the European nuclear powers, that is the United Kingdom and France, which can provide a nuclear umbrella for all of Europe, is now considered one of the main options for ensuring the security of the old world. And now Germany fits absolutely naturally into this whole picture as it signs a pact with the British. And in addition, now the United States of America is also transferring its nuclear weapons to the United Kingdom. And this shows that in Europe they have really moved from words to action and adopted the very doctrine of deterrence, that is maximum militarization, to show the enemy that it's better not even to look in this direction, let alone think about attacking. So for now, I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments under this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Everyone,